Hello there, voiceover Ways here. It's been a while, as usual. It's always been a while. But I hope everyone's been doing great and staying safe as much as possible. So for this video, I'll be talking through my experience with using the Clip Studio Paint app on my first generation iPad Pro. And although this is a sponsored video, thank you so much to Clip Studio by the way, I did buy the app myself and tried it out for a while before taking the job to get as much of an unbiased review as possible. I'm very picky with my sponsors, so much so that this is actually my first sponsored video ever, and I was super excited when they contacted me for this opportunity. In my platforms, I only want to talk about things I genuinely recommend and have used and approved of myself, so my word can be as genuine as possible. So for context, from the beginnings of my digital art journey, I started using Clip Studio with my tiny screenless tablet, which was nice and all, but not having a screen to look at while I drew the lines made me uncomfortable with digital art in general, so I never really touched it again. However, a while ago, Clip Studio made its debut on the iPad Pro as an app that was said to perfectly mimic the desktop version. I remember trying it out when it was released, but there were a couple of things that kept me from completely switching from the app that I used most, which was Procreate. One of them being my skills with digital art at the time lacking a lot in comparison to today, which made making illustrations digitally very frustrating. Especially on a professional level app with so many resources and buttons and options, it was just a bit overwhelming compared to the intuitive, beginner-friendly, and more minimalistic design of Procreate, right? So as time went by, I became more and more confident with not only digital art, but art in general. I took classes on it, studied a lot, discovered some things, and then Clip Studio reached out to me for this collaboration. I thought of it as a chance to put those skills to the test, since I think Clip Studio is the closest software we have to Photoshop, which is the industry standard. I have a couple of friends who work in the industry that actually swear by Clip Studio and say it's way better than Photoshop, and to be honest, the only times I tried using Photoshop I found it to be so intimidating that I just froze and didn't know what to do. Of course, this is just my inexperience talking, but this is my personal experience that I'll be sharing in this video, so there you go. So as I mentioned before, the app is basically an exact copy of what you get with the desktop version, which can be good or bad depending on who's using it. For me, I felt that for the app version they could have made a more intuitive, simple layout, since working on phones and tablets is, after all, different from working on a computer. You'll look for shortcuts more than normally when working on an iPad because it is made to be an intuitive product, especially with touchscreen features so available. So I do think they could have took advantage of that, making the app a more minimalistic version of the computer software or something like that. It feels overwhelming at first because of all the features you get right as you open a new canvas. Like, here you go, take all of these tools and make your magic. Take them all. But then again, this can also be great. If you take your time to learn all the possibilities these features give you, it really can speed up your process. I especially like the fact that you can pretty much customize everything, like where the color wheel window goes, where the layer window goes, how big you want it to be, on which side you want each window to stay, etc. That really helps making your process smoother and more comfortable for, you. So here's the thing about my digital art journey. When I recently tried using a display graphics tablet, I was so disconnected from computer softwares that not having touchscreen shortcuts, not being able to move the canvas with my fingers, having parallax when using the tablet pen, it all added to a very stressful experience, not gonna lie. Like, I was so used to the iPad and Procreate combo, I felt like I couldn't get out of it, so I got comfortable and never gave the app another chance, especially after that stressful experience with the display tablet, which, by the way, was not the tablet's fault. I just get annoyed when I try multiple new things at once, and consequently, obviously don't understand them, so that's my fault. So I pushed myself to try it more enthusiastically this time with the iPad touch features, which helped a lot. Learned about the downloadable brushes from the Clip Studio Assets library, which is really cool. I'll talk more about that later. And I got a brush that felt like I was painting with gouache, which made it a lot more comfortable for me. So from then on, everything got so much easier and more pleasant. I felt like I had finally become comfortable with the idea of using a software with endless resources. Speaking of brushes, I do feel like the Clip Studio paint brushes work better. Like, as in more naturally, like they blend better and have a more natural flow to them than the Procreate paint brushes. For example, oh my god, and the blending tool, it's chef's kiss. It's amazing. It blends so naturally, it doesn't look blotchy, it's very seamless. I like that a lot since I'm learning more about digital painting, and blending things is very hard for me to not make it look like an ugly 3D gray Play-Doh shape. I hope you get what I'm saying. I used to do flat paintings with hard shadows a lot more than blended soft shadows because of that fear of making it look unnatural and blotchy, but their painting tools made it easier for me to understand how soft edges work. And thinking of painting with their brushes as painting traditionally with gouache also helped a lot, but this is a tip for all softwares. If it makes it easier for you, think of digital painting as gouache, as traditional painting. You can go over things, go over line work, paint them again, erase them with paint, blend stuff. It's gouache. Do whatever you want. Create your own process based on what you want to do and not what you feel like it should be like. Of course, having the fundamentals in mind to make it look cohesive, but other than that, have fun with it. I used to have a very linear process coming from traditional painting, so I'd sketch, do line art, and paint. And that was it. So actually realizing you don't have to follow strict steps to make art took me a couple years. I'm speaking of my own experience when I say this, and it might sound obvious, but really take your time to think about your process. Does it make you frustrated? Do you feel like you can do better? Sometimes I catch myself in the middle of a process that is completely different from my own and can understand why nothing's working out, why this painting is making me so angry. Of course nothing's working out, you're trying to paint like someone else. And out of nowhere too, so I take a step back and try to listen to what I want to do, how I want this painting to look like, and start again, sometimes all over again. And don't get me wrong, you can look at someone else's work and think, cool, that's really cool, I want to do that. But add your own flavor to it. Like, don't try to copy what they do, unless you're actually studying them, then you have to copy exactly what they do. But you get what I'm saying. So when making something of your own, you're gonna take all of those things you liked and regurgitate it into your own interesting version of it. And trust me, it'll look way better than if you just tried to be them. That was a bit out of nowhere, so anyways. So for my final thoughts on this experience, I really like Clip Studio and I will be using it again, especially for digital painting and if I want to experiment more in my process by using their many features. For simple sketching though, I prefer to use simpler apps so I don't get overwhelmed, but I do switch apps quite often to get my creative juices rolling. In the beginning of this video, for example, you saw a little clip of another canvas open with some naked ladies I had sketched out because I felt like using a specific brush that only Clip Studio had that day. I already mentioned Procreate, but Infinite Painter is another great option for simple drawing apps, especially because of their sketching pencil is my absolute favorite of all time. I'd recommend the Clip Studio app for people who don't want to give up on what a desktop software can offer, but still have the intuitiveness of a touchscreen and its shortcuts. Like me. Also, if you want to get used to more professional standard softwares and level up your process in general, Clip Studio is great for that too. If you're more of a casual digital artist who doesn't really feel like getting too into it, it's good for you too, but there are better options as you might feel overwhelmed at first, like me. I'm currently still exploring it. There's a lot more I want to do with it, and it's kind of exciting. I want to experiment with their patterns, special brushes. Honestly, their downloadable assets are one of the coolest parts of the app. Like, you see a cool pattern or a brush, and you already start thinking of an illustration to use that in. A lot of them are made by actual users who share them for others to use. I think it's pretty cute. Some of them you have to pay for, but I got a lot of really cool ones for free, so it's definitely worth it to give it a look. So I think that is it for this video. I hope this was helpful in some way and that you liked the little girly I drew. I finally was able to film my sketching process, which a lot of you have been asking for the longest time, so I hope that could clear some questions as well. I'm not sure how clear it was, but I used only one brush from sketch to final details because I just like it that much. It's that gouache brush that I talked about earlier. The name of it is Hoarse Oil Remake, but I'll leave it in the link below in the description for you guys to check it out if you'd like to. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to get to as many as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Don't forget to stay safe, please. Bye bye!